And so whilst the ambition to return to the big carrier game is a long-standing one, the political chicanery around re-establishing a carrier capacity has meant that the concept, the philosophical, strategic idea of what big carriers are for, how they are to be used, with who, and under what circumstances, is something that's lacking, because the culture has, to a large extent, been lost, and that's something that we need to re-establish. And I suggest, Mr. Sharma, that now is the time to do it, because what we have is a history where so much of carrier design has been British, be it the first carriers, like HMS Furious, during the First World War, be it the angled flight deck that came in with the advent of fast jets at the end of the Second World War in the 1950s, or be it the ski jump in the 1980s. This was all British technology, British ideas leading the world, meaning that others had no alternative but to follow. And the same is true now. We are not the only people using the F-35B, but we are the only country in the world to be using the F-35B in combination with aircraft carriers that are designed from the keel up to use that aircraft. Mr. Sharma, we are lucky to see, coming into service, the finest ships of their type anywhere in the world, crewed by the most professional Navy. Together, they are bringing together the glory of the Royal Navy's history with the technological industrial prowess that is our hallmark for the future. These carriers can help us unite new friends around the world in times of peace and defend freedom in time of war. They are the very best of our country, and I wholeheartedly celebrate them, and I hope we all can.
Robert Court.
Thank you very much. If I may just canter through some of the points that really struck me during the course of this debate, which I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I've learned a great deal. It really is the example of when we all come together with various expertise and can really make progress in an area. So I'm grateful to everybody for that. Honourable Member for Stoke North, I entirely associate myself with the comments that others have made about her fortitude, and I also look forward very much to the carriers being stocked, never mind about the aircraft, but with the crockery from her constituency, off which the men and women who will sail on the aircraft carrier will eat. And I thank her very much for her contribution. Honourable friend for Berwick-upon-Tweed, many points she's made that were excellent. The Battle of the Atlantic, the Great Sea War, nothing much has changed in the importance of the sea, and she's quite right to draw attention to the Aircraft Carrier Alliance and that particularly successful, innovative endeavour. Honourable friend from Glasgow North East, really enjoyed the detailed knowledge that he brought to this debate, and 2 points in particular: 0.3% of the space of an airfield constrained into a carrier. I've never thought about it in quite that way before. He's absolutely right. And the industrial legacy of the space shuttle in particular, I've, again, never thought about the carrier in that way, but he's quite right. We must make use of it in the way the Americans did with the space shuttle. Honourable friend from New Forest, who chairs the Select Committee, I feel terribly impertinent, Sir Grady, saying anything about defence in any room in which he's standing because of his expertise. But the predictability of unpredictability, he's absolutely right about, and I loved his point that the Treasury has sunk more ships than the enemy ever have. Honourable friend for Gedlin, foreign policy linked to defence, could not agree more, and the engagement with the UK public. I hope at least in a small way we've started that today, but I agree with him. Links, same points made by my honourable friend Filton, links of DFID, FCO and the MOD, I entirely agree. Both front benches, thanks for their contribution. Both seemed a bit startled by the extent to which we all agreed in this debate. It does happen occasionally, and maybe we should all celebrate it when it does. And Minister, thank you very much. May I must for all your detailed answers. Could I just make my final request, which I think every one of us here has made in different ways, for an overarching carrier strategy that brings together all departments and everything that we've discussed about in one document that we can then debate and take forward. That's really the central ask from the purposes of today's debate. And I look forward to working, Minister, with you and with every colleague here to do battle, if not with foreign countries, then at least with the Treasury.
The question is that this House has considered carrier strike strategy and its contribution to UK defence. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. With the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order.